Here at the Anomic Age, we know that these times of uncertainty are stressful. It is incumbent upon all of us to put our fears first and bow down to government tyranny. Gone are the days of freely leaving your home, working, and social interactions. In exchange for safety, we will trade liberty. At the Anomic Age, we understand. However, just in case you want to get off your knees and stop being a sniveling coward, check out the John Age Project at anomicage.com.
Meet Ann Morrissey, who is here with her daughter, Dareth. Dareth is 17 years old. Mrs. Morrissey, I don't have to tell you that most parents would be extremely depressed if their daughter came home one day looking like this. I assume that was your response shock, anger, depression? What was it?
I was extremely angry. I really went bananas.
Yeah, how old was she when this happened?
Possibly 13, 14 years old.
We're talking like it's a disease, isn't it?
Well,
yeah. How did she explain it to you, Mrs. Morrissey?
there was very poor communication until we went into counseling. And it almost broke up our family. But through counseling and Serena, I can understand it better.
What do you understand?
That she feels like she doesn't want to be like everyone else, and she wants to be her own person. And through the dress code and her lifestyle, she's expressing this. It doesn't conform with our rules, but we're learning to cope, and it's a very, very difficult thing. Extremely difficult.
Dareth, let's let you talk for yourself. You're from Long Beach, California.
I just can't handle being like everybody else because that's what everybody else wants, you know. Just because somebody else does something does not mean that I have to do it. You know, I have my own morals and ideals, and I go by them.
Are you drug-free, Dareth?
Yes, I am.
Is this a political statement, then? Do you have some misgiving about the society that you see?
Yeah, there's a lot of problems, you know. A lot of the people are really aware of what's going on, you know, and I don't like it, you know. There's a lot of problems.
What?
I don't like the way society is based.
What bothers you? Give us some of the misgivings you have.
The rich, the poor, the people starving, the wars, you know. Why can't, you know, everybody just get along and just live their life?
Here at the Anomic Age, we know that these times of uncertainty are stressful. It is incumbent upon all of us to put our fears first and bow down to government tyranny. Gone are the days of freely leaving your home, working, and social interactions. In exchange for safety, we will trade liberty. At the Anomic Age, we understand. However, just in case you want to get off your knees and stop being a sniveling coward, check out the John Age Project at anomicage.com.
Meet Ann Morrissey, who is here with her daughter, Dareth. Dareth is 17 years old. Mrs. Morrissey, I don't have to tell you that most parents would be extremely depressed if their daughter came home one day looking like this. I assume that was your response shock, anger, depression? What was it?
I was extremely angry. I really went bananas.
Yeah, how old was she when this happened?
Possibly 13, 14 years old.
We're talking like it's a disease, isn't it?
Well,
yeah. How did she explain it to you, Mrs. Morrissey?
there was very poor communication until we went into counseling. And it almost broke up our family. But through counseling and Serena, I can understand it better.
What do you understand?
That she feels like she doesn't want to be like everyone else, and she wants to be her own person. And through the dress code and her lifestyle. She's expressing this. It doesn't conform with our rules, but we're learning to cope, and it's a very, very difficult thing. Extremely difficult.
Dareth, let's let you talk for yourself. You're from Long Beach, California.
I just can't handle being like everybody else because that's what everybody else wants, you know. Just because somebody else does something does not mean that I have to do it. You know, I have my own morals and ideals, and I go by them.
Are you drug-free, Dareth?
Yes, I am.
Is this a political statement, then? Do you have some misgiving about the society that you see?
Yeah, there's a lot of problems, you know. A lot of the people are really aware of what's going on, you know, and I don't like it, you know. There's a lot of problems.
What?
I don't like the way society is based.
What bothers you? Give us some of the misgivings you have.
The rich, the poor, the people starving, the wars, you know. Why can't, you know, everybody just get along and just live their life?
Here at the Anomic Age, we know that these times of uncertainty are stressful. It is incumbent upon all of us to put our fears first and bow down to government tyranny. Gone are the days of freely leaving your home, working, and social interactions. In exchange for safety, we will trade liberty. At the Anomic Age, we understand. However, just in case you want to get off your knees and stop being a sniveling coward, check out the John Age Project at anomicage.com.
Meet Ann Morrissey, who is here with her daughter, Dareth. Dareth is 17 years old. Mrs. Morrissey, I don't have to tell you that most parents would be extremely depressed if their daughter came home one day looking like this. I assume that was your response.
Selling real and Chevy.
Propagating truth in a world of lies. You are listening to the John Age Project.
Trust no one. Trust no one. Trust no one.
You found it. You're here. You're headlong down the runaway train that is the Anomic Age, and I am your host, John Age, coming at you in the not so wee hours of the PM, right about now anyway. This is a pre-recorded program, in case you were wondering. So it's going out live on my own platforms, but it shan't go out live on all of them. At least not until tonight at 11:30. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Please check out anomicage.com if you've not already done so. Please like all the likes and subscribe to all the subscriptions. Looks a lot like that. PayPal.me/anomicage. Patreon.com/anomicage as well. That's the best way you can find everything me. We got the Cash App, the Patreon link, to buy me a cup of coffee link, the Shatoshi's link, and so much more. So much more indeed, folks. So much more. So, if you can't do any more, you can do that. Check out anomicage.com. And please become a patron and all that good stuff. So, in case you were wondering, today is going to be a decidedly different show. Probably different than I don't know if any show I've ever done before, but definitely different than any show I've done in a long time. And I was looking because I was kind of lost in it myself. Last show we did was Information Breakdown segment 492, and it was exactly 20 días, 20 days. In the past. It's been 20 days since I've gone here and done a live show. I don't know if I've missed anything all that much. I was sick for a couple weeks there. And I won't say I was too sick to do any show, but I was definitely too sick to do a show of the caliber that I am accustomed to doing. So I decided to just pull the plug. Pull the plug. To quote the great hardcore or hatecore band, Neglect. I decided to pull the plug on the whole thing because I knew I was not going to be up to my usual self. Having way too much phlegm and coughing and everything else to even really enjoy doing a show, whatever that even means to me anymore. So I just didn't do a show. Put out a bunch of old shows, but I know those of you who are only following me in the podcast variety, people were going, hey, where you at? What's going on? And I just, I was sick, folks. That's what was up. I was sick. And instead of giving you an inferior product, I decided just to post a lot of old content, some of the sort of best of, in my humble opinion. So if you didn't check that out, maybe you saw it on the Patriots Prayer Network. Maybe you didn't. I don't know. Anyway, the point of it all is today is going to be a definitely totally different show for me anyway. I was thinking about changing everything because, well, I am going to change everything. But I was thinking about changing this from being it's classified as AA _ IB _ 493 or whatever the heck it's supposed to be now. Isn't that right? 493? Yeah, 493. But I was going to call this a whole new segment, which I might in the future, just called Just Thinking. Because the one thing that being sick gives you, or at least it should, it's time to think. It's time to think and reflect and just sit and stew, if you will. And that's what I like to do, man. I love to get deep into the pool, very introspective, very existential thought. That's kind of where my mind always is. So if you were looking for a very political driven, cover the pertinent hot topics, cover the current events, cover the news, that ain't what I'm going to do. That might not be what I do for a long time, actually. We'll see. Because I thought about that. I thought about just clicking it into gear and going into just automatic mode, and we can cover some news stories, and we can cover the soup du jour of the buffet of buffoonery of idiocy going on in the political realm. But that's just not what I want to do. I told my wife this a couple nights ago. I think it was last night even. You know, the prospect of me getting on this platform and just covering politics makes me retch inside. Just makes me almost sick to my stomach thinking about just the prospect of doing it. I could get up here and put it into automatic mode and just go through the motions and do that kind of show. But I just don't want to do that anymore. I don't. So I might do that in the future. I'm not ruling it out. But I'm definitely going to take this show in a different direction, one way or the other. Got a good guest lined up. I don't know when we're going to make that happen. I haven't checked my email today, if I'm being full disclosure. So she is set to come on, I believe, next week, but we'll see. Just everything's always in flux. Or subject to change, as the great band Faith from D.C. Subject to change in every way. Subject to change, yeah. So it's all subject to change. But if you are hoping for the usual political dribble, that ain't what I'm going to be delivering. I was really going to, and I might still do this in sort of a satirical form, just get like one of those fake AI backdrops that's like the most stereotypical right-wing patriot. You know, I've got my Gadsden flag. I've got some kind of sort of like fluorescent low-lit LEDs behind me. You know, the usual suspect BS. I thought about doing that, and I still might. I was really going to do that for my Halloween edition of the show, but I was too sick to even do a Halloween edition of the show, which really ticked me off. That's my favorite holiday of the year. I still got my Halloween decor behind me, and I was really hoping to do a full-on Halloween rendition of the Anomic Age like I did last year, with the lights lit low and some candles behind me, and just talk a lot of paranormal and ghost stories. Because that's really what I'm interested in. Far, 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 far more than the political horse pucky. I mean, it's really to the point now where I just don't care. I really don't. You know, it just doesn't. It doesn't interest me. Getting guests on here and just talking about the same old just really makes me sick. So I'm thinking about completely going in a different direction. And if I have anything to do with it, living and breathing, that's what I'm going to do. So I might very well do some of this just thinking segments. And if you were hoping that it was going to be one of these really short Instagram, 30 seconds of information. Oh, it's just 30 seconds, just 30 seconds. No, it's not. It's not going to be like that at all. That's not ever what I wanted this show to be. And if I'm being real with you, I think over the years, I wore down a little bit because I was never, ever, ever into that. I was always wanting long format interviews where you could actually sit down, just kind of like two friends at a table talking and discuss. And, excuse me. And as the show kind of went on, that's one thing I kept getting flack on. You got to have shorter shows. Nobody wants to sit down and listen to an hour long, blah, 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 blah. So I shortened things up, and that's kind of what was the genesis of what you're listening to now. The genesis of the information breakdown segments really was supposed to be like a 20-minute, real short, let's just cover something short and spiffy. In and out. Let's cover some news, in and out. And that's really what the show's, the information breakdown segments were. They were going to be a break from the long format interviews and just kind of short segments of me covering that. And then they kind of evolved into longer segments. And then when I jumped on the Patriots Prayer Network, they definitely, well, they didn't have to, but they kind of evolved even more into like an hour-long segment. Again, which is not ever what I wanted this show to be. And which is probably why I'm not going to do that. I don't know, anymore. I will just see, man. We'll just see. And it kind of stuck in my brain what I was listening to. I don't know when Owen Schroyer left the InfoWars mess. What is it, about a couple months ago now? Something like that. But this is kind of what I found ironic in the whole thing. So Owen left. He said he's going to do his own thing. And he does like, I don't know, it's like an hour-long broadcast, after he was lambasted by Alex Jones, just the most infantile nonsense. Just lambasted by Alex Jones for several days, and he finally comes back on his own program and just kind of does an update of what he wants to do and blah, 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 blah. And he said he wanted to do something more akin to Rush Limbaugh. Something more akin to Rush Limbaugh. He wanted to be America's new Rush Limbaugh. And he wanted to have a show that could kind of cover the conspiratorial. The news was one thing he kept underscoring. He wanted to cover the news. And just cover topics that he wanted to cover. And, here's me never, ever, ever being a Rush Limbaugh fan. I could never really get down with that. It was just, no. I won't even get into why I didn't like Rush Limbaugh. But anyway, never a big Rush fan at all. But then, you sort of get the point counterpoint because Alex comes back on the next day and is quick to say that sort of media is dead. That sort of media is dead where you can have a long conversation or where you can just have a normal blipping show. And I thought about it for a minute. And I at first I thought, you know what? He's got a point. I think that sort of media is dead. But then, I think my soul kind of said, hey, no, John, not so fast. Just me. It's my dog riding shotgun over here, Daisy. But then my heart and my soul went not so fast because in my heart and soul, what I love, I was going to say loved, but love is still talk radio. I love the real true essence of talk radio. I love Art Bell. Art Bell's no longer with us. I love Art Bell. And I can't even say that, the coast to coast or whatever it is now, it's just a joke. Don't even classify that as what Art Bell did. It's not. They took the name, but they did not take the true essence, spirit, and soul of what was and will always be Coast to Coast AM, Art Bell. And then as Art moved on and in and out of retirements, I really began to love the work of John B. Wells, who was on Coast to Coast for a little bit of time until he got summarily fired from that broadcast. But I used to just love talk radio in general. When I found talk radio, thanks to Art Bell, when I found Art Bell, I found other, in my opinion, good talk radio shows. And that is the essence of what I love and probably will always love about that form of media. So when I really got into, well, I'd done radio in the past, but when I got into doing my own podcast, I thought, you know what, this is what I want. I want to not necessarily emulate or idolize those aforementioned great talk show hosts and programs, but I wanted something along those lines. I wanted something that you could just sit down with an audience at a slow pace and just discuss whatever's on your mind. Doesn't have to cover the waterfront of news. Doesn't have to hit the hot button topics. Doesn't have to match the algorithm so you'll get all the likes and all the hits and all the little hearts and all the little thumbs up and all the shares and all that horse pucky. That's not ever what I wanted this show to be. And I don't think I ever sold out and really became any of that. But at the same time, I think sort of by a consequence of wanting my show to reach a larger audience, I think I tried to appeal to a small degree to that sort of formulaic dribble, which, again, makes me wretch. Just disgusting. You know, a music purist. Love the punk and hardcore and even a little metal on the side, maybe. But I don't want to sell out. I don't want to be a poser. And if you look at that aforementioned style of music, those things were of the essence importante. And ironically enough, I think most of the people involved in that became just that. They became sideshow. They became sellout. They became posers. Some didn't, you could argue, but I'd say most did. It's not what I want this show to ever be. To quote the great John Lydon, or Johnny Rotten if you're nasty, I do believe it was the last Sex Pistols show, but I could be mistaken. The real show in the, late 70s there. If it wasn't his last show, it'll do till his last show got there, to paraphrase the great John B. Wells. But what he said is, in the closing, waning moments of that show, he said, "Did you ever get the feeling you've been cheated?" And he could have just made that offhand comment about the show itself or something he was thinking at the time. But in my mind's eye, I always thought he was really speaking to the larger picture. So I don't ever want to be that. I don't want to cheat the audience. I don't want to cheat myself, most importantly. First and foremost, I don't want to cheat myself. This is supposed to be a show of information and entertainment and fun to do. So when it ceases being fun to do, it shan't be a show anymore. So that's kind of what I've been wrestling with, if you will, for quite some time. And I really did have some pictures pulled up, and I was, I at least had the images set. I didn't formulate the show art for this show yet, but I was thinking of a very obvious show topic, and I'm not saying I won't do it. I could at any time. That I was going to do for whatever the next show was. But then I got to thinking about, I could do that. I could pull that show out of my rear end with no notes and just kind of off the cuff, cover all the usual suspect topics, cover what everyone wants to hear about, hit all the algorithmic markers and so forth and so on. That just ain't it, folks. That just ain't it. So, I'll say all that to say this. I'm going to take everything in a different direction. And if you're down, you're down. If you're not, you're not. That's all right. So, this might be the first of many shows of this trajectory, but indeedly do, this show is entitled Just Thinking. Because for once, I did just that. I took my own advice. I take my own advice most of the time. I don't really just give offhand advice nor information. Well, that means I don't really give advice to anyone except my family. But I took my own advice. Took my own advice, babe, because I've told my wife this several times. Probably more than that over the years. But just the importance of unplugging. So as I was beginning to do the show, just sat down in the studio here to do the show today. Something I always tend to do is I get on the social media and I look at the topics du jour. And I just kind of culminate it, fabricate it into something new and kind of put my own spin on things. And I immediately just got into it for about 30 seconds and I said, screw this. I cut all that mess off. And me and the dog went outside. It's a lovely day on the coastal plains of the old North State today. Ironically enough, it's a little warmer, but it ain't too warm. It's kind of like that beautiful golden fall that you always aspire to, but never quite hit. It's like high 60s, not quite 70. A little touch of breeze in the air. Beautiful sunny day out there. No chemtrails to see. So me and the dog just went outside, and I was sitting there. If you know me at all, this is kind of funny, but I take notes on weird things. So I grabbed some old envelopes that I just threw in the recycler and grabbed them and kind of a little desk board thing and a pen. Me and the dog just went outside. I sat there for a minute. Started writing some stuff down. Maybe I was like a quarter of the way into it. And I was like, man, I got to take my own advice. So I did. So I took my shoes off. Got my little toes on the ground. Did some grounding. That was fine. I was having a good time with that. And I thought, man, the sun's kind of beating down on me. Took the shirts off. Covered the tattoos a little bit. Took the shirts off and just kind of basked in the sun. In the grounding and in the sun. And it was just a beautiful thing. And I thought, I don't know who said this. It wasn't me. Just how much you can learn from the animals. From the animal kingdom, you know. How much you can really learn from them. And I looked down at the dog, sitting there sunning next to me, just having a great old time. And I thought, you know what? Why? Why do the humans drift so far from the natural world? We put ourselves in this, this hierarchical position of hubris, and we have just drifted so far from the natural world. It's just sickening, folks. Eating processed crap, eating just garbage that's laden with chemicals and carcinogenic agents of every variety. Wearing the shoes, wearing layers of clothing, wearing all this prosthesis all around us all the time. Just fake. Fake. I saw a great comment the other night because I was about to say this exact comment, and somebody said something to the effect of fake and gay. They were showing I won't even tell you because that might be firing shots at another program. But they were showing a little clip of another program, and somebody said fake and gay. And I thought, that's right. Our entire world is fake and gay. So if we would just actually spend more time in the world, and I don't want to get all anti-biblical because somebody says you're not supposed to be in the world, not the world. That's not what I'm saying. Stop it. I'm saying if we spent more time as a people, as a society, as a culture, as a civilization, actually doing more natural things in the world, eating real food, sitting outside in the sun with our little tootsies on the ground, walking by the water, all those things that I've talked about so many times on this show, we might be better off. So I look down at the dog. She ain't wearing shoes. She's just laying down in the sun, just having a great all time. That's kind of what the impetus of this whole thing was today. I was like, man, I'm taking my shoes off. I'm taking the shirt off too. I was about to strip all the way down almost, but I didn't. Sat there, shirtless, shoeless, still had the pants on. Don't get excited, folks. And just started jotting down a plethora of notes on the back of a piece of paper. on the back of 3 envelopes. I got them in front of me here. So if you see me looking down at this, it's not a teleprompter. It's my own notes in the shorthand on this 3 envelopes that I took down a bunch of notes on, because there's just so much. There's just so much. And it's in my brain all the time. And we just, to quote another song by Faith, we've got to slow down. Slow down. But the vast majority of us just don't do it. It's on to the next. What's the next thing? What's this? We got like 10 things going on at once. 10, 15 plates juggling at one time. What's next? We don't slow down ever. So the good news is when you get sick, sometimes it kind of forces you to slow down. And I'm not too sure that it's not your body just calling time out, going, hey, if you ain't going to slow down, I'm going to slow your butt down, all right? I'm going to give you all kinds of phlegm and the mucus and the cough and everything else. I will slow you down, John, because you need to reflect. You need to take some time, which is one thing I never do. I take time for everyone else, and then when it's 3, 4 in the morning, I sit there and think I'm taking time for myself, and I don't. I just end up looking around and checking out the social media gamut, or gambit maybe. At the end of the day, just not slowing down, folks. And that's kind of the gist of what I wanted to talk about today. In my Just Thinking segment is slowing down. Time is my arch nemesis. It might be yours too. I don't know. But it seems to be there is just never, ever, ever enough time. To quote the great Big Reed on Instagram, and I found him on Facebook too. So if you follow me, I just reposted this little something by Big Reed a couple hours ago. The great Big Reed. I'll give you full status, Big Reed. The great Big Reed from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I've never met this man, but I'd like to. Because what he has mentioned on his show many, many times, and it has always rung true with me 110%, is T-I-M-E, to quote Big Reed. Time is what rules and controls this dimensional plane. That's exactly it, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, humans of all ages. Those of you who still identify as human, it's time. We like to think that there's other aspects of it, but that's really it, folks. It's time. What do you get paid for? If you have any kind of job, it's your time. You're getting paid by the hour, you're getting paid on a salary, you're getting paid for your time. And it's never enough time. No matter how much time you think you got on this mortal coil, it ain't never enough, folks. Because at the end of the day, here's the facts. At the end of your lifespan, there ain't nobody talking about, man, I wish I had more time to work. Man, I wish I had more time in the office. Man, I wish I had more time to dedicate to whatever BS job, vocation, or whatever else you want to call your servitude. Nobody's ever saying that. What they're saying is, I wish I had more time with my kids. I wish I had made more time for them when they were little. I wish I had more time with my spouse. Wish I had more time with my loved ones. And those of us who are left behind when the loved ones die, that's all we really want too, isn't it? Just want a little bit more time with that person. That person who is deceased. Yeah, this one gets me messed up. It's got me a little too close to home. Good job spilling the water. But that's really it, man. That's really it. At the end of the day, if we're dying, we want more time. If we're thinking about and reflecting upon those who are already dead, we want more time too. T-I-M-E. And we think that we have all the time in the world until we don't. There are very few people that are sitting in the hospital right now on death's door. Very few. That didn't think they had a couple more years in them. Didn't have a couple more months, couple more days. Ain't nobody just about lying in that morgue that didn't think they just had a little bit more time. But that's not how it works. Sometimes your number is just up and you out. You are out of here, folks. And another farcical, mystical aspect that many people always believe, always think they got more time, and they always think things are going to stay the same. This messes with my head too. Those of you with kids, you already know this. You're used to this one time. Oh man, we got through the terrible twos. Oh man, we're into the elementary school, and you know how it goes, folks. You think it's going to stay the same forever, but it doesn't. You wake up one day, your kid's gone out of the house, and what in the world? Where did it all go? Where did all the time go? Wish I had more time to spend. Where did all the time go? So we always think we got more time, and we always think things are going to stay the same. Even if you don't have kids, you can look upon your own life, especially those of us who are getting a little long in the tooth. It's funny because we really have this bizarre, like funhouse mirror mentality. I've mentioned this on the show before. We really do. Because I think, when we look at ourselves, we always think we're staying the same. We look just as good as we did at 17. You know, we look great. You run into people that you grew up with, run into people from high school, or even run into people you just used to work with or what have you. Man, I hadn't seen that person in so long. Good night, nurse. They look terrible. See how old they look? My goodness gracious. They put on some weight. They lost some weight. Whatever the case may be, they look terrible. Always look old. I'm glad I don't look old. I always think things are going to stay the same. I always think we got more time than we do. I always think it's everybody else is changing, but it ain't us. That line from the old Minor Threat song, this stuff's all in flux. I remember when I was a kid, I heard that. I didn't know what the heck that meant. And I looked it up, and it just meant things are always changing. Always changing, folks. That's the only constant you can rely on in this world, is that it's always changing. And one thing that we always do too is habituation. Yeah, I'm looking down at my notes. I got a lot of notes. But habituation. That means habits. We are creatures of habit. Sometimes we don't think about it that way, but we are. Think about, you might eat something up, eat pizza at the same week, same day of the week or whatever. Oh, we're going out to dinner on Friday. Oh, we're going to have pizza on Tuesday. Oh, we're going to watch this show on whatever day. Oh, it's our family trip. Every year we're going to so-and-so at this time of the year. Habituation. If you're not into that big picture thing, you might think of the little picture thing. Micro and the macro is both true of you. Don't try to BS me. I know it is. Going to bed at a certain time, things you're going to have to do before you go to bed. You go wash your face, you brush your teeth, put on your pajamas, all that mess. You get up, you're going to use the bathroom. You might check your phone. You'll hit the alarm. You hit the snooze. You're going to go in the kitchen. You know the deal, folks. We're creatures of habit. And I've touched on this before in this show, even in the earlier minutes of this show, but for some reason humans love to put ourselves on the outside of everything. It's like it's just we're separate, It's everybody else that's like this, not us. No, everybody else is getting old, but not us. But more specifically, we do that to other events, other people, and even other creatures, or los animales. Yeah. Kingdom enemy, all those other animals are different than us. They're just beneath us, you see. Because we're the humans. We're bestowed by God's benevolence with all the greatness of the world. You know, we're above everyone. What a crock of nothing, folks. As I said in the opening minutes of this show, there is so much that we should and could learn from the animals. We just choose not to. We like to put ourselves on the Eiffel Tower. Excuse me. On the ivory tower. Don't put yourself on the Eiffel Tower. That's freaky. Like to put ourselves on a pedestal above all else, but it just ain't so, man. We tend to think that we're on the outside of the cycle of life is really what it boils down to. We like to look at everybody else, and especially the animals too, and we like to look at everybody else and say, well, their existence is finite, but our existence is infinite. See what I'm saying? Oh, well, so-and-so died at 25. Well, that's terrible. Well, I got another 80 and 90 years easy, you know. Well, the dog might die in 15 years, but, you know, I'm going to live till I'm 135. Easy, you know, that sort of thing. So we like to look at it through this weird parallax view, through this weird funhouse mirror. And we look at everything else that way, too. Oh, we're going to have a 30-year mortgage, and now we're all the way up to a 50-year mortgage, right? We're going to change our car after it comes, you know, whatever 1,000 miles that you see fit. The car's going to start deteriorating. We got to start doing this, that, and the other. Everything's got a lifespan and a life cycle except you. And I know there's some people that are out there just happy as a clam with death, and they ain't even thinking about this. They've made peace with their creator, and they're going on to heaven or whatever the freak else, man. Good on you. Thanks. Congratulations. Good. But for so many of us, I think we are looking through that funhouse mirror just a little bit. We're looking at it finite, everybody else infinite ourselves. You know, we got infinite lives. We ain't getting hurt. We ain't getting sick. We ain't getting cancer. We ain't getting anything. We just going to live forever. Because we think we have all the time in the world until we don't. So we really do need to come to grips with the reality. This might be it, folks. That's the sad reality of it all. This might, in fact, be it. This might be the best you're ever going to look, the most fit you're ever going to be. This might be the last day you're breathing air. This might be the end, folks. Might be the end of it all. But most folks don't think of it that way. They don't live life for today. They live their lives by making these ridiculous promises to themselves, making these big, grandiose plans. When I retire, I'm going to see X, Y, and Z. You know, I'm making this a doctor's appointment for next week, or I'm making this doctor's appointment for next year. You know, we'll go ahead and make these plans. We got reservations, 6 months from now to go do X, Y, and Z. Everybody thinks that it's a guarantee. You're going to wake up on this side of the dirt today. It's going to be just another day. But we live in an illusion of time. That's really what it all is, folks. It's an illusion of time. We live in this hubris that we have it all figured out and everybody else is just fouled up, We got infinite lives. We're playing a video game. We're the main character. Failing to realize this just might be it. Okay? But that's one thing that really does vex me is time. And I've done a lot of thinking lately, and I've thought to myself, maybe that's what's up with time. Maybe time on this earth is hell. Maybe this is hell. And maybe heaven is there is no time. Maybe that's what's up. Maybe it's just like heaven. Maybe just like heaven means there's no time. I hope to God that's true, man. I hope you die and you wake up and there's no time. You're just in this infinite peace. You got time to go fishing. You got time to play with your kids. You got time to sit around. Just think. Be introspective. You got time to spend with your wife. You got time to spend with your dad or your mom. All those things that we think we got plenty of time for until you wake up dead. I hope that's what's up. I hope that heaven really is that. Because unfortunately, I really feel like we're missing the mark here on planet Earth. I really do. Because most everybody is just living lives of triviality. Living lives of meaninglessness and monotony. It's all those habituation elements that I just talked about. Get up, brush your teeth, use the bathroom, get dressed, go to work. Do all this monotonous crap over and over and over, folks. It's maddening. If anybody is not maddened by this, I'm thankful, I guess. Maybe it's just me. Because I get disgusted sometimes. I swear, man, you look at some mess, you look at the posi-core side of social media. You know, there's so many different sides to this social media crap. But you look at the posi-core side of it, and it's like, you know, be unrecognizable by December. Oh, yeah. You better start working out every day at like 3 a.m. before you go to work and get a shower and put on your mask and go under the guise of someone else so you can get a paycheck selling your time for trivialities. So you can come home exhausted. So you can eat garbage food. So you can contribute to your own demise. But the posi-core side thinks, be unrecognizable in December. I don't know about you folks. But I've often mentioned on this show this notion of live, thrive, and survive. 3 elements of life. You got the live. That means you're just barely getting through. You know, you're living. You know, you're doing that. You're doing that keeping your head above water. You know, the good times. Making a break when you can. No, it's making a wave when you can. That's what. Temporary layoff. Yeah, you're trying to just live, you know. And thrive. That means you really got it all figured out. That's the other side of social media. There's the extreme posi-core side. But I guess it kind of goes hand in hand with the folks who've got it all figured out. You know, they're making millions of dollars from home, sitting around, twiddling their thumbs. They've got all this vacation with their family. They've got 6 houses and 5 cars, and they're eating the cleanest meals you can eat every single day. Every day is just like a fantasy, you know? I'm not going to sing Fantasy by Mariah Carey. I hate that mess, but I digress. And then you've got where, I hope you're not in this, but this is where I'm at. You got the live, you got the thrive, and then you've got the elemental that I'm at, and probably most people are, if they're being truthful. You know, the vast majority of people, social media is the biggest guise of all time. It's the biggest masquerade party known to man. But most folks, I would suggest to you, in 2025, year of our Lord, are more in line with the survive side of things. They're not doing the live, they're not doing the thrive, they're doing the barely survive. And that's kind of where I'm at, folks. Hate to break it to you, I'm in the survive. So most days, it's all I can do just to get the bare necessities, those simple bare necessities. Well, this calls for some, yeah, those of you who've slowed down the tape and know what was really said there, not this tape, but the bare necessities. Most people are just doing the bare necessity to survive. That's it, folks. Trying to keep the lights on, trying to keep food on the table, trying to go to work, trying to keep everybody well at the house, trying to keep the cars running, trying to keep the house barely standing, like all this stuff. The survival is where most people are at. And I do believe that's kind of why so much of social media you're seeing a bit of a turn. I think you're seeing the turning of the worm, if you will, a little bit on social media. Because there's definitely a segment of the populace that's just had enough. That's where I'm at. Call me whatever pilled you want to. I could care less. But I've had it, man. I've had enough. There's a big majority of the population that's just had enough of playing politics, playing patty cake with whatever the other side is supposed to be, playing the land of make-believe like their lives are okay. And more to the point, playing the land of make-believe like their lives are going to be okay. Okay? That's the posi-core people. We're getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning and doing a 2-hour workout and still working a 10-hour shift, still coming home, eating clean. You know, what I've said, the whole 9 yards, the whole melange of feces. So I think that's really what's up. But I do believe people are waking up to the scam of this whole mess. And I do believe that was another good element with the COVID hoax. Because the COVID hoax changed a lot. And I don't think that this was all pre-programmed and just, you know, in the tea leaves and in the things they're revealing in the movies and magazines. No, I think that this was an actual element of truth that was unbeknownst to the controllers, whoever they are. Yes, who are they? They're the people you can't criticize. That's who they are. Our greatest ally might be one of those people. But I digress. During the COVID hoax, I do believe people woke up. People were forced to be with their family because they were too scared to leave the house. Ooh. If they did leave the house, they had to put a mask on and stand 6 feet apart and walk in a little lawn like flowers for Algernon so they didn't become sicky sick. So it forced people to get together. It forced people to wake up. People saw their family more. People saw their kids more. And more to the point, I think the biggest reveal of the COVID hoax was that your job is a superfluous freaking joke. No brag, just facts. Because I think so many people like to live under the delusion that the world will stop without you. But as the Bad Religion song portends, the world won't stop without you. It just won't. So I think a lot of people were at their house. They weren't working. Or if they were working online and barely working at all. And guess what? Nothing really skipped a beat. See how that works? Just like in this is nefarious government shutdown that we had all the earmarks of revolution and civil war and race-baiting hatred and all this horse pucky. And guess what? Not a thing happened. Nothing. Every time I hear of some calamity that's about to break off, I just go, forget about it. Who really cares? I mean, I'm not even that long in the tooth, and I can't even count the times that we were supposedly at death's door as a civilization. You know, everything from 9/11 to 2012 to Y2K and everything in between. It's too hot, it's too cold, it's going, we're all doomed, we're all going to die. It's civil war with Russia. God knows how many times we've been on the precipice of some sort of war with Russia. Good grief. Will that trope ever get tired and just sit down? It's just sickening, really. So I think that did wake some people up. They figured out, this whole working forever thing is a flipping joke. It's a big pile of turds. Nothing matters. Not the least of which, your job. Being a slave. That doesn't matter, folks. That's not the essence of living. That's not even life. That's slavery. That's servitude. And I know the boomers are all getting in the comments, and I worked for 20 cents an hour, and I still afforded a house and a car and 6 kids and whatever. I retired at 55. Yeah. Great. That's not the reality anymore. It hasn't been the reality for at least 60 flipping years, folks. Inflation, anyone? Woodrow Wilson income tax, anyone? Federal Reserve, anyone? Taking us off the gold standard, anyone? Inflation out the yin yang, anyone? So here's some takeaways. Because I really do credit Gen Xers for a lot of good. Definitely. I credit my generation for a lot of just anger. Really, I was trying to think of a better word for it, but no. Being a real generation of anger, a generation of misanthropes that just don't care. They've just had it. You know, that's what I get from Gen X. And I love it. I feel it, man. That's me all day. And as much as I do criticize the newer generations, the youngsters, if you will, whatever they want to be, I don't know. X is me. I guess Y, Z, J, whatever you want to put on that. As much as I do criticize them for being weak and pathetic and groveling cowards, which they are, I agree with them seeing through the veneer. They were not still breathing in the fumes of the gaslighting that the Gen Xers were. Because as much as we were just addled in anger and angst and just, we were still breathing in the fumes from the gaslighting. Because the boomers and the greatest generation and all the previous had just gaslit everyone to death with the usual suspect crap. You go to the public schools, you go to the university, and in 4 years you miraculously get a job. You work that job for 30 some odd years and you retire with a great pension and a gold watch and a retirement plan and medical insurance, and you can have as many kids as you want. 2 cars in the garage. Dear old dearie dearest is at home with the children and she's making the food and the table is set when you get home. I'm veering into Cosby, I know. But we were still breathing in the fumes from the gaslighting. Really were. So I will definitely humbly submit to you that whatever the newer generations are, they're into the work-life balance. And I thought that was a complete steaming pile of refuse for quite a while until I thought about it. And I was like, wait a minute. You know, that's actually what you should have. Some balance in your life. Who the freak wants to work 40 plus hours, show up sick, let your kids get raised by the government indoctrination camps and the babysitters and like, what a pile of crap. Work-life balance is key. They figured out that there's more than just this monotonous existence of triviality. They actually want to raise their children themselves. They actually want to make a living wage, whatever the freak that is in 2025. I know the boomers, well, I worked at, yeah. Well, that ain't the case, okay? $25 an hour is way too much. It is way too much if you're working at frickin' Hardee's. Shouldn't be making $25 an hour. But likewise, shouldn't cost $70 to fill up my gas tank. A bag of actual edible food shouldn't cost like $50 a bag either, okay? Inflation, anyone? The real thing that they want, folks, is freedom. Isn't that hilarious? The new youngsters on the yard, they want freedom. And I say on the yard because we're all just prisoners. We're all just slaves in a slave camp. We got the Ulsters over there and the Gen Xers over there, those young whippersnappers over there. They want true freedom. Not just the picturesque postcard. The star-spangled and clad lies of the 9 to 5 till you're 65. So there's just enough years to get sick and die lifestyle. They want more than that. Isn't that surprising? I know it is. They actually want more to life than just that trivial horse-pucky existence. They want more. To quote the great Suicidal Tendencies off their their debut record. I want more. Yeah, I do want more than life in a cage. More than just a prison existence of trivialities and monotonous garbage. In fact, they want what the fairy tale history promises but never delivers. They want peace, folks. Peace, anyone? You know what? That old Megadeth song, Peace Sells, but who's buying? That's the problem. The American people are buying it. It's the politicians and the other greatest allies that don't want it. The military-industrial complex doesn't want peace, folks. Newsflash, the citizenry wants peace. I can't speak for the boomers, but I guarantee you the Xers want peace. And all the new generations of whatever ridiculous name you want to call yourself, they want peace. They want no foreign wars. Does this ring true to anybody, folks? This is exactly what I just mentioned. The fairy tale history promised but never delivered. Peace, no foreign entanglements, a military and police that protect, that don't steal, instigate, and victimize the people. What a concept. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't it be nice if we weren't waging war all across the world and third world despots here, to and fro, and everywhere we frickin' go? Wouldn't it be nice if the police actually just protected you from criminals instead of mercilessly victimizing the people that happen to not have enough money to get their way out of the ticket? Laying in wait and in disguise to pull people over on the highway. Those are pirates, folks. Those are not police anymore. Limited government, sound reasonable to anyone? Limited tax. And an overabundance of freedom. I know this is just mind-blowing to many of you, but this should just be bread and butter, basic American constitutional Bill of Rights, liberty, and freedom. No, somebody, that's totally different. It's different than liberty and freedom. I don't care what you want to call it. I want freedom from all oppressors. Okay? That's what I want. You can digest that any way you want to. It doesn't matter to me. I want an overabundance of freedom and an extremely limited government. All right, folks. I feel like I've kind of bloviated on a little bit more than I wanted to, but I don't know if you feel this way too. But I was just thinking. You can't do everything, but you can do something. Get out there, do your part, make a difference. Be safe out there. I'll be seeing you sooner than later in the anomic age.
Thank you for listening to The Anomic Age, a John Age project. For past shows, further info, and to comment, go to anomicage.com. That's ANOMICAGE.com. Till next time, thank you for listening to The Anomic Age.
Thank you.